March the 24th, cherries. Whereas February tends to be dominated by cherry plums, Prunus cerasifera, with a smaller number of almonds, Prunus dulcis, and Japanese apricots, Prunus mum, March sees a much wider variety of species, hybrids and varieties. They all gradually increase in number as the month progresses. Many of the cherry plums could be identified by their dark barks, round buds, and petals without notches. Now we start to see more typical ornamental cherries, with their horizontal lines of lenticels, longer buds, and distinctly notched petals. They are, on the whole, very difficult to identify exactly, but you can get some idea of their parentage by looking at their size, shape, and the number of petals in each flower, as well as its colour. One of the earliest to come into flower in March is Prunus Accolade, whose flowers, like a number of other species, are said to mark the end of winter. It has semi-double pale rose-pink flowers that hang in clusters of 3. Being the first of the large flowered cherries and also possessing long wispy branches, it is often regarded as one of the most beautiful of all. The Fuji cherries, Prunus incisa, are another early group. The species itself grows wild on the slopes of Mount Fuji in Japan. There are many different forms, but what we generally notice are trees completely covered in flowers. Ernest Henry Wilson, another famous plant hunter, who collected in China and generally travelled by sedan chair, said of it, "No cherry is more hardy, more floriferous, or more lovely." Another early cherry introduced by Wilson is Prunus conradini, which can have white or pink flowers but is always scented. The first cherry we see with pink frill petals may well be the popular Prunus okami. Its colour is described as fuchsin pink, and its flowers are well known to attract bees. As we get more towards mid-March, we may start to notice a cherry with large, single, deep cerise-coloured flowers that are both wide open and made up of brown petals. This could well be Prunus cursar. A much more famous species, typical of mid-March, is the Tokyo cherry, Prunus yedoensis. It has the palest pink flowers that fade to white and smells strongly of almonds. It is found all over Tokyo, where it famously scents the streets and forms the so-called pink ceilings in parks. Like many cherries, they quickly lose their petals en masse, which for many Japanese is always a reminder of the tragic loss of life in the Second World War. It is now the national flower of Japan. As late March approaches, it will get even harder to identify the cherries coming into flower. The apple blossom cherry, Prunus amelagawa, is one of the easiest due to its strict upright habit and fragrant pink flowers. It is enormously popular, only growing to 6 meters and therefore a must for small gardens. Amelagawa means celestial river, referring to the Milky Way. Another widely planted, easy to recognize variety is Chile's weeping cherry, Prunus Kiku-shidare zakura. It is usually a dome of cascading bunches of deep rose-pink double-petal flowers. Its Japanese name means weeping chrysanthemum tree. The star of the late March cherries is the great white cherry, Prunus taihaku, which has the largest of all white cherry flowers, often 6 centimeters across. Always regarded as one of the greatest of all, it was believed to be lost to cultivation. That was until Captain Collingwood Ingram, a cherry specialist at Wisley, after being shown an 18th century picture of it, realised he had rediscovered it in a Sussex garden. From there it made a triumphant return to Japan in 1932 and can now be found more or less all over the temperate world. The great mountain cherry or sergeant's cherry, Prunus sargentii, is also widely planted in London, mainly for its autumn colour. However, it might be recognised now by its single pink flowers with dark edges and yellow anthers. Similarly, Prunus pandora is another common cherry which has single white flowers with pink edges, which can look very much like apple blossom. Others with labels can be found both at Kew and Wisley, but for the sheer enjoyment, all you need to do is walk along the cherry avenues in our larger parks, especially Kensington Gardens and Regent's Park.